Alright, so after you've completed your rows, and then it is from where we separated the armpit to the length we have now, this is where we started after we separated the armpit. So you measure it, so you're going to have about 4 inches. Okay, this is 4 inches. So it's going to differ depending on the size, like I said earlier. So depending on your size, you're going to make it according to the length that you want. So after that, you're just going to fasten off here and then cut your yarn. So after you do that, we're now going to separate for the neck. Okay, you just cut off your yarn like so. So for the neck, the next thing we need to do now, we need to fold our work into, like fold it in half and make sure that it is well in the middle like this. So when you have it like this, you look for your stitch marker, use a stitch marker and mark out the center stitch. Okay, you mark out the center. It can be in between a stitch, it can be on a stitch depending on what yours is. So mine is actually on a stitch. So after you do this, after you mark out the center, you open it and you would want to count and make sure that you have the same number of stitches on both sides so that you're not making a mistake. Very easy like this. So the next thing you want to do, you want to take your tape and then we're going to mark out for the neck. So you take your tape from where your stitch marker is, you're going to measure 3.5 inch here. Okay, so this is where my 3.5 inch is. So you're just going to take your stitch marker and mark out that stitch there. Okay, this is where my 3.5 inch is. Okay, then I'll also mark out from here to this side. I'll also mark out 3.5. Okay, this is my 3.5, and then I'm also going to place a stitch marker right on that place. So as usual, you want to count to make sure that you have the same number of stitches for both sides. So the next thing we are going to do now, we're going to start working on just this part for the remaining part of our work. So this was where we fastened off, so you're just going to turn your work from that end where you fastened off. That's where, well, actually we shouldn't have fastened off, so I'll just reattach my yarn and then we're just going to continue working our normal rows as usual. Okay, so if you didn't fasten off, that's actually the best, so you just continue working. So I'm just going to chain 1 and make my double crochet in that very first stitch. Okay, so once you've done that, we're going to keep making double crochets until we get to where we placed our stitch marker on this side. So I'm close to where I placed the stitch marker. You can see this is the stitch where the stitch marker is on, so this is going to be my last stitch. We are not crocheting on the stitch where our stitch marker is. Okay, so once you do that, you chain 1, turn your work, and then we're going to work the other way around. Okay, I've stitched there. So we're just going to continue like we do our normal rows of double crochet, row after row. We're going to do this until we have 3 inches. All right, so I'm just going to, okay, so you can see you're just going to keep working this row after row until you have about 3 inches. And then so now I've made this part of the work. Okay, so you can see this is it. I've made this is actually 3 inches. Okay, so I want to measure it. This is where we started. Okay, so you can see it's actually 3 inches. So you want to repeat the same thing for this side of our work. Okay, this is going to be the middle part of that is the neck of our work. You know, we started our work on this one from this side. Okay, this is where we're working like this. So you're going to start working from here and then you work your way to this side. Okay, this is where our stitch marker is, so we're going to start working from the next stitch after the stitch marker. So I'm going to attach my yarn, chain 1, yarn over, and then make our first double crochet right there on the very same stitch space. Then we're just going to yarn over and make another double crochet on the next stitch. Okay, so you can see, so we're just going to keep repeating what we did here for this part of our work. We'll do row after row until we have exactly 3 inches. It's going to make sure that it is the same number of rows that you have here that you're going to have here. All right, so far this is what our work is going to be looking like. Okay, I've done the 2 sides for the shoulder. This is going to be our neck. Okay, this is our armpit, and this is the base of our work. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and make another panel of this. Repeat the same exact thing like you're saying here. You're going to make a second part of it. You make the rib, you make the body, you make the armpits and the neck. Make sure that the stitches you have the same number of starting chain. You can go ahead and count your stitches there so that you know the number of chain to start with. Make sure that your increase is the same so that one work doesn't become bigger than the other. In the process, you may notice that one might look bigger, maybe because of your tension or whatever, but so far as the number of stitches you have is the same thing, you don't have any problem. So let's go ahead and make the second, and then we're going to join. Okay, so I've made the second panel like, okay, as you can see, we have 2 panels. So the next thing to do, we are going to join our work. So you want to, if you notice the 2 sides of our work, these 2 sides are looking the same. Okay, so you just go ahead and choose a front and a back side. Okay, that one is totally up to you. So my advice is that you're going to choose the side that is, you know, more neat, if you should ask me. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and choose a right and a wrong side, and then we're going to join our work. Okay, so I'm just placing this one on top of the second one. So now you want to hold the strategic ends together, so that I'm just going to mark here. Use your safety pin, okay, and join it. Or you can just use yarn to, you know, hold the ends together so that it will make your joining easy. Okay, so this is the other end. I'm just going to mark it as well. I'm joining it. I'll do the same thing for these 2 sides of my work. Okay. So that is it. So what we now need to do, we are going to, you know, you can also hold here as well, the armpit side, so then your work is going to align as you join. Okay, so after we have made that, we're now going to join here, and then we are going to join this other down part too, and we're going to repeat the same thing for the other side. Okay, so when you're joining, you want to make sure that, okay, let me zoom in so you can see very well. Okay, so for the joining, you want to make sure that you're joining, you make sure that you're joining it the same row, this row to the same row at the back, so that your work doesn't, you know, squish together. And then for the top part too, you want to make sure that you're joining the same stitch to the stitch. That's why it's necessary to have the same number of rows and stitches for both the front and the back side of your work. Okay, so I'm going to be making use of single crochets to join my work. So I'm just going to take out the stitch marker. I don't need it anymore for this side. So you're going to attach your yarn. So like I said, we are going to join the 2, and I had to go and, you know, join this off camera. Okay, so you can see this is what it looks like. So we're going to be using single crochets to join. All right, so I'm just going to take these 2 ends of our work. We're going to attach your hook at the base like this, and also the base of the second part of your work. All right, and we are joining on the wrong side, so that the joining is going to be here, and then the inside is going to be the front part of our work. So you just take your yarn and attach. You attach it anyhow you know how to, you know, attach your yarn. This is how I attach mine. So you can see it is attached now. So you pull on this still. Now we're going to be weaving this in as we walk. Okay, so you will just want to, on each of the double crochet stitches that we have, okay, we are going to be making 2 single crochet on top of each. All right, so you want to take your and put it in between the double crochet that you have there. You repeat the same thing for the back side. You put it in between. Make sure you are taking more than 1 loop. Okay, you have at least about 2 loops like this. Then we're going to make our single crochet. So that's the first one for that stitch. So where we'll place the second one is on the top of where this stitch is connecting with the next stitch. You insert your hook. Okay, let me zoom in so you can see. You're going to insert the next one. Okay, we're going to insert the next one on the top of this stitch that is connecting this first stitch here. That is where we are going to make our second single crochet. You make sure you look for this the same stitch behind. This is it. Okay, and then you make your single crochet. So make sure that you are joining the same row here to the same row behind, so that you don't make mistakes. So if you find it hard joining with single crochets or slip stitches, you can use any joining method you prefer. You can use your needle and thread, you know, to join it. Okay, so you're just going to keep making single crochets on top of each of the stitches. Make sure you're making 2 single crochets on top of each stitches. So that is how you're going to join. You can see. Okay, this is it. So you're just going to keep making it. That's how you're going to have this effect like this, and then you're going to join to this part of your work where we started the armpit, and then there's going to be the armpit hole. You also join the shoulder parts together. That is these 2 parts. these two parts. You're also going to join. Make sure you're joining each of the stitches to this next stitch behind. So you do that. So when we're done, we're now going to start making the sleeves. Okay, so to make the sleeves, what we need to do, okay, we're going to, this is our armhole, we're going to attach our yarn right here, okay, and then we're going to work single crochet right across around. So I'm going to attach our yarn here, okay. So once you have attached your yarn, we're going to make single crochet on each of these stitches here, okay. So we're going to chain one and then single crochet, single crochet. So you want to make sure you are working on the wrong side of the work, okay. We are starting on the wrong side of the work, so like this. So after you've made this last single crochet, all right, on this stitch here, this remaining part of the stitches that are the sides of the double crochet we made on for the previous rows, you're going to place 2 single crochet on each double crochets. So insert your hook in between the post of that double crochet, okay. That's the first one. Insert your hook, yarn over, make the second single crochet, then you move on to the next double crochet on the next row. Insert your hook, yarn over, insert your hook again. That is 2. So we're just going to keep making 2 single crochet all round across like this until we get to where we started. Alright, so once you've done your single crochet right round across the armhole, okay, so what you need to do, you have to slip stitch, okay, to that very first single crochet there. So I'm just going to, so you want to make sure you find the where to join it, okay. So you slip stitch to join the hole. Just take your time, okay, yarn over and slip stitch like so. So once you've done that, you want to chain one, turn your work, okay, and then we are going to make double crochet on top of each of the slip stitches we made before, right round, okay. So yarn over on this very first single crochet here, you place a double crochet. On the next stitch you place a double crochet. On the next stitch you place a double crochet. So we're just going to keep placing double crochet right across, and when we get to the end of the row, we're going to slip stitch and join. So when you are done with the working your double crochets on all of this previous single crochet, you want to slip stitch to the first double crochet of that row, okay. You slip stitch on the top stitch right here to join, okay. So we have joined that row. So you want to chain one, turn your work. When you turn your work, you want to yarn over and make a double crochet on this very first stitch here, okay. We don't know if you can really see it. On this very first stitch here, that's where we are going to place our double crochet. So we're just going to repeat what we did for the previous row. On top of each of these previous stitches, we're just going to place a double crochet right there, and then when we get to the end of the row, we want to slip stitch, and after that we'll start making our decreases. So when you get to the end of that row, you want to make sure that you place a stitch in that very last stitch space there, okay, and then you want to slip stitch to join your work. You slip stitch to the top of that very first double crochet that we made. So that will be it for. So now we have 2 rows of double crochet. So now we are going to take our measurements for the what is it called, for the decreasing of the hand, okay. So what you need to do, as usual, you take your tape. So depending on your sizes, okay, I'm going to be leaving that on the screen. Depending on your sizes, the measurements, it is for a, so for an extra small size, you're going to subtract 5.5 inches, that is for the hand, okay. Then for a small size, you're going to subtract 6 inches. For a medium size, you're going to subtract 6.5 inches, and then for a large size, you're going to subtract 7 inches, okay. So remember, the size I'm working on is a medium size, so I'm going to subtract 6.5 inches. And to do that, you just take your tape and you measure how many stitches you need for a 6.5 inches, okay. So as you can see, place your measuring tape as usual, and you count the number of stitches right to this point where you have 6.5. So this is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19 20 21 22 23 24 25 26 27 28 29. Okay, so we have 29 stitches. So what you have to do next, you want to take your calculator, okay. You want to take your calculator and you're going to divide 29 by 3, because we are going to decrease it in 3 places, just like we did for the increase. So 29 divided by 3. So depending on how many stitches you counted, you're going to divide it by 3, okay. When you divide by 3, For me, I have 9. Okay, and then when you have the amount you have, you want to divide it again by 2. Okay, when you divide by 2, I have 4.8. So if I should approximate this, I have 5. Okay, so we're going to be decreasing 5 stitches per each of the decrease row. Okay, we're going to be decreasing at 5 places. I'm going to mark out 5 places now. Okay, you take your stitch marker. I'm going to mark out 5 places. So like I said, the stitch you're going to reduce is going to differ depending on your gauge, the type of yarn you're using, your hook and all that. That's why you have to do this calculation for your own size. Okay, so I've marked 5 places now, so we are going to continue working our next row. And what is going to happen is that when you get to where your stitch marker is, we are going to decrease twice. Okay, you're going to decrease twice. That means for a total of this row, we are going to be having 10 decreases, because we marked 5. But when you make it 2 decrease per each of the 5 marked places, you're going to have 10 decreases for this row. Okay, so this is where we stopped. So I'm going to chain 1 as usual, turn my work, and then I'm going to keep making. So remember that when you chain your 1 and you're going to place your double crochet on top of this very first stitch. That's where your work is going to, your joining is going to be on a straight line, and then you don't have to risk maybe increasing or decreasing your stitches without knowing. I'm just going to keep working our normal double crochet as usual. So I'm at where my stitch marker is. I'm just going to take it off. Alright, and we are going to make 2 decreases. So we are going to be decreasing 4 stitches into 2, and to do that we are going to make 2 double crochet together. Okay, so yarn over, make your first double crochet on that stitch there, yarn over, pull 2 loops. You're having 2 loops now on your hook, you're not going to finish it. You yarn over again. On the next stitch you make your normal double crochet like so, pull 2 loops. So now you're going to be having 3 loops on your hook, so you pull through all 3 loops. Okay, so that way you have 2 double crochet together. So we yarn over and repeat the same thing again. Insert your yarn hook, remove 2, you have 2, yarn over, insert, pull through, remove 2, you have 3, and then you pull through all. So we have made 2 decreases on that very place. So we are now going to continue double crochet as usual. When we get to each of the places where we marked our stitches, we are going to repeat the same thing we did before. We are going to decrease 2 stitches on that very spot. Okay, so I'm at the next place where I marked, so I'm just going to take off this. So I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook. Okay, again, then pull through all 3. So I've made the first decrease. I'll insert my hook in the next stitch, then in the next stitch again, and then I'm going to pull through all 3. So I don't know if you can see it. So we have made, this is 2 in 1, this is 2 in 1. So we have made, so we're just going to keep making normal double crochet. When you get where your stitch marker is, you're going to decrease 2, just with the same method until we are done with this row. Alright, so I'm almost at the end of that decrease row, so I'm just going to finish the remaining stitches. Okay, so if you look closely, you see our last stitch here. Okay, so you're just going to make sure you always pick that last stitch. It's very, very important. So then we're going to slip stitch to join this row. Okay, that is it for the 3rd row. You yarn, chain 1, turn your hook, and then you're going to double crochet into that very first stitch right there. So we are going to keep repeating normal double crochets without any decrease or increase. Okay, we're going to make 2 rows of this, just like we did for the increase parts. We're going to make 2 rows of this, and then we're going to make another decrease. So after making the 2 rows of no increase, we're going to take our stitch markers and then mark again, depending on how many places you marked for the very first time. That is how many places you're also going to mark for this one. Okay, so initially I did 5. I'm also going to mark 5 places for this one. Okay, so we're going to continue what we did for the other row. When we get to where our stitch marker is, we're going to make our decrease twice. Okay, then after this row of decrease, we're going to make 2 rows of no decrease. Okay, just like we did for this previous 2 rows. Then the next 3rd row, after the 2 rows of no decrease, we're going to mark out again exactly like this and repeat the same process, then make another 2 rows of no decrease. So I'm just going to do that off camera. All right, so after we have you've made your 3 rows of decrease, like this is what your work should be looking like so far. Okay, when you remember we did initial 2 row, then we started our decrease, 2 row, make another decrease, 2 row, make another decrease, then another 2 rows. Okay, so after that you should have about 11 rows in total. So we're going to measure our work from where we started. So I have around 4.5 Okay, so we are now going to continue doing normal rows without decrease until we have around 5 inches. Okay, so if yours at this point is 5 inches, then we are going to now do the front post, back post, double crochet. But if it is not, we're going to just, like for me now at this point, I will have to increase my rows until I have around 5 inches, and then we are going to do the finishing. Right, so at this point, this is what our work is looking like. All right, so I'm just going to measure it. You can see I have around 5 inches for the length, so you can increase this according to how long you want the length of the hands to be. So the next step, we're now just going to do one more row of front post, back post, double crochet. So you chain one as usual, turn your work, and then you make your first normal double crochet, and then you're going to make your front post double crochet just like we did for the beginning of the cloth. You make your back post double crochet, then you're going to make your front post double crochet. So you're just going to keep repeating this front post and back post double crochet. When you get to the end of the row, you join your work and then fasten off. Okay, so when you are done with the front post, back post, double crochet for the just one roll of that, this is what it's going to be looking like. Okay, as you can see, this is, then you're going to repeat the same exact thing we did for this side of the sleeve. That is what you're also going to do for this side of the sleeves. Okay, so when you are done with that, the next thing we want to do, we want to work on our neck, so we'll give it a more defined look. Okay, so to work on the neck of our dress, of our top, I mean, okay, you need to turn to the right side of your work. Okay, this is the right side of my work, and then you want to attach a yarn at any point you want. I prefer to attach it at the shoulder here where I joined the shoulder. Okay, so you want to insert your hook and then attach a yarn there. So once you have attached your yarn at that place, we want to, just like we did for the sleeves, we are going to make single crochet right across round the corners of the neck. Okay, so like usual, on top of each of the double crochet at the end of each row, we are going to make 2 single crochet there. Okay, so you just insert your hook, make a single crochet. On that same double crochet, we are going to make another single crochet. Always remember to make your single crochet in between the posts, like in between this double crochet. Now we are making another single crochet on the next row, then you insert your and make another single crochet. Okay, so we're just going to keep making single crochet. When we get to this place where we have normal stitches, just single crochet on top of each of the stitches as normal. So we're going to do this until we get to our starting point, and then we'll slip stitch to join. Okay, so when you are done with this row of single crochet, okay, you're going to slip stitch to that very first single crochet we made. Okay, so you chain one and turn your work as usual. So the next thing, we will now make normal double crochet on top of each of the slip stitches that we did previously. Okay, just one double crochet on top of each of the slip stitches, and we're going to do this round all around. Then when we get to this end, we'll slip stitch and join to this very first stitch. All right, so when you are done with that row of double crochet, the next thing, you just slip stitch to join with that very first stitch. Okay, then you're going to chain one, turn your work, and then for the next row, we are going to be doing front post, back post, double crochet like we did for the sleeves. Okay, so you yarn over. First of all, make your normal double crochet as your beginning stitch, and then for the next one, we're going to make a front post double crochet. The next one, we're going to make a back post double crochet. So we are going to keep repeating front post and back post double crochet on top of each of the previous double crochets that we did. We're going to do it until we get to this point, and then we'll slip stitch to join. Okay, so after we are done with the front post, back post double crochet, okay, we are going to repeat the same thing again. So I'm just going to slip stitch to join this round. Okay, you chain one, turn your work, and then we are going to repeat the same front post, back post double crochet one more time, and then we'll slip stitch, join, and then fasten off, and that will be it for this round. Okay, so you make your first normal double crochet, do your front post, do your back post, and then we are going to continue like so until the end of this round. So I want to believe that if you're watching this tutorial up to this point, I want to believe that you're enjoying the video so far, and I would like you to give this video a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel, because I'm going to be leaving more videos like this. Okay, so I'm just going to keep continue doing this, and then I'll meet you at the end of the row. Okay, so I'm at the end of the this row, so I'm just going to slip stitch to join. Okay, I'm just going to slip stitch to join, and then I'm going to pull up a loop and then cut the excess yarn and then form a knot as usual. So I'm just going to, at this point, I'm going to weave in my ends. So you take your yarn needle, insert your, and then I'm going to weave in the wrong side of my work. I'm just going to pass it in between those stitches. Okay, and then I'm going to cut off the excess. Okay, so that's what you're going to do for all these other parts where we have threads. We are just going to weave in the ends, and then I'll show you the finished product. So I'm done weaving my ends. This is what the top looks like. Okay, as you can see, so this is what it looks like. So that will be it for this tutorial. Like I said, don't forget to subscribe and also turn on your notification bell so that you always get videos like this. All right, so see you in my next video. Bye.